They may sound nuts, but so do the Wright brothers. Now, here's Flieger and Briggs.
Welcome back to It's Just Sports. We are Flieger and Briggs on 12-Ounce Sports Network. I am Mr. Briggs. Across the way is my cohort, Mr. Flieger. You can catch us on 12-Ounce Sports Network, and don't forget we are live on Zingo TV. And all you have to do is download the Zingo app on your smart TV and put in the promo code 120Z, and it's free.
Well, that's all that really matters is it's free. And, of course, you can follow your boys at Asylum Football on the tweeters. It's just sports123@gmail.com. And you can find all the show archives over at asylumfantasyfootball.com. Rick, here we are on March 242nd. Still no sports being played, which makes it kind of hard doing a sports radio show at this point. But we'll get into it. Luckily, the NFL keeps giving the big news so far this week. Rick, Cam Newton signs with the Patriots, a 1-year incentive-laden deal, about $1 million minimum, up to $7.5 million if he reaches his incentives. Big deal. No deal, weird deal. What do you think of Cam Newton in New England?
We talked about this before I came on the air, and I tweeted out on the old Twitter today. There's so many of these experts, putting out these tweets. New England, NFC East champs, book it.
Now, that would be news if they won the NFC East.
Or, excuse me, AFC East. Yeah, that would be news there.
That I would want.
Yeah.
Now you got my attention.
Or New England wins another Super Bowl with a different quarterback and no one's surprised and on, all these kind of things. And it just struck me, Rick, I don't know why everyone is so convinced that he is the savior of New England. Look, this is a guy that is a career 59% passer. He can't run like he used to. This is not the same Superman Cam Newton we grew accustomed to a few years ago, even like 5 years ago. What was it? 15 was the MVP year, correct?
I believe, yeah.
And this is not the same cat. And there's not many weapons in New England at his disposal. And you have a Cam Newton that is diminished mobility-wise, not a very accurate passer, and not a lot of weapons. That doesn't spell instant victory to me.
No, and I guess that's what's interesting, right? It's because it's New England. It's because it's Bill Belichick. Because, first of all, when you look at the contract, when you look at the player, and when you look at the quarterback situation, it's about the biggest no-brainer signing ever, isn't it? I mean, I don't know why this – maybe just because it took so long, why this was such a earth-shattering thing. Maybe it's because there's nothing else going on at this point. So really no financial risk for New England at this point. And that's the thing. The thing with Cam Newton is we saw a bit of a decline, certainly in the athletic – I don't want to say the athletic ability, but the running ability and who he was in the last couple of years. We don't know yet that he's healthy. I've heard and read people saying, look, New England was able to work him out or able to give him a physical, and if New England signed him, that means he's healthy. That's not necessarily the case. Again, when you look at this contract, $1 million up to $7.5 million. That is literally a free starting NFL quarterback by those standards. So, when I look at that, I don't know that he's healthy. So certainly no. This is not some guarantee that now New England just rolls again. Now, it could be a final piece, perhaps. Look, the offense is lacking in weapons. We do know that. But the defense is still really good. The special teams are still really good. The head coach is still really, really, really good. So when you put it all together, it makes sense, but I don't even think there's a guarantee that Cam Newton makes this squad, right? I think he either is the starter or he gets cut. That's kind of where I fall with Cam Newton. And I have to think, knowing what I think I know about Bill Belichick, here's what I keep wondering. Having that opinion, knowing what I think I know about Bill Belichick, if Cam Newton doesn't come in and just blow him away, he's going to go with Stidham because he wants to do this with his own homegrown guy. I honestly believe that Cam Newton's going to have to come in if there's any preseason and put himself head and shoulders above Stidham and Hoyer, or he's not even going to make the squad.
I agree. And he's certainly going to have to realize that walking into that locker room that he's not Superman any longer.
Right.
You know, Bill Belichick is he runs the place, and there's a lot of other veteran presence on the Patriots. And I'm not saying this guy is going to be a bad teammate. I don't want to, get me the wrong opinion out there. But we've seen it over the years. His leadership or lack thereof abilities. Things go bad, or things go well. He's great. He's happy. Cam's having fun. It goes bad. It gets sour real quick.
Yeah, what I wonder, Rick, do we have any indication, and maybe I'm just forgetting, look, he is a horrible, horrible, horrible post-game interview when he loses.
But he has some cool hats.
Well, the best hats in the business.
Yeah.
There's just no doubt about it. And I hope he brings Bill Belichick some hats. And I'd like Belichick to be a cool hat guy.
Now, could you see Belichick in one of those hats? Now, wouldn't that just be
Oh,
grand?
my God. I would have to throw my pants away. They would be of no use to me any
silk
longer.
suit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And a cool Cam Newton
And that
brimless hat.
Yeah, and the beaming Belichick personality to go with it. I mean, it'd be classic.
But I don't know, Rick. Cam Newton's not a bad guy. He's a horrible loser, at least in a post-game interview. I don't know what he is leadership-wise. What I do know is he had that Carolina Panthers offense essentially on his back for how many years and drugged them almost kicking and screaming, it felt like, to a Super Bowl a few years ago. So, I don't know. It's interesting. My big thing is it only makes sense, right? It only makes sense. Yeah, a lot of the narrative going around now is, how's he going to get along with Bill Belichick? You say he's not Superman anymore. I think you mean, and not to put words in your mouth, in terms of his running ability and his ability to carry an offense.
Exactly.
But that Bill Belichick isn't going to put up with the, pulling the lapel and the Superman annex and the dab.
That's not really
I don't think
anything.
Bill Belichick
No, I don't think he
cares
could
about
care less.
That's what I mean.
I don't think he could care. If it did anything to detract from the team, a la a 15-yard penalty or something, maybe. But other than that, I mean, we've seen some of the antics Gronk has done and so forth.
Right.
It's all fun. That's not a big deal. No, I don't think that bothers him a bit. Certainly doesn't bother me. And I was exactly referring to his physical capabilities, the ability to throw that whole offense on his shoulders, and people still couldn't stop him. That's just not Cam Newton any longer.
We don't think anyhow, right?
Well, we don't think. You're right.
Maybe now he's healthy. He's going to be. Well, he's not going to be on a better offense necessarily, though.
He's going to be on a better
team.
defense,
right?
Yeah.
And so I think that's what I'm most interested in, if he makes the team and if he's the presumed starter, which I don't think either one of those are necessarily gimmies at this point. Two things I wonder about. Number one, does Bill Belichick design an offense around Cam Newton? Because here's what we know about Cam Newton. Right? In order for him to be successful, and this isn't a knock on Cam Newton, this is who he is. In order for him to be successful, he has to run the ball, about 8 times a game, I think. I think historically, if he runs the ball 8 times in a game, he has a 60% winning percentage. If he runs it less than 8 times a game, I believe it's a 35 or 40% winning percentage. So, I mean, that's how important that part of the game is to him. But what we also know is, having how many years, 15 years of Tom Brady, that is certainly not what the New England Patriots offense is. We know Bill Belichick can adapt, but we also know he can be stubborn as well. Does he try to form Cam Newton into I'm doing the air quote thing, a New England-style quarterback, or does he completely change up the offense to accommodate a guy like Cam Newton?
Well, and that remains to be seen, because if he tries to make him into the typical, let's face it, Tom Brady.
Yeah.
I mean, there's nobody else. It's not going to happen. And does he have time to revamp this offense completely with what, look, no disrespect, but offensively, it is bad.
Right. Oh,
that
absolutely.
they're putting out on that field right now. And I think it was serviceable because Tom Brady was such an excellent general, could make things happen out there. I don't know if they have time to be able to do that.
And they're not going to have the time together. I think that's where the timing,
Well,
while
yeah,
it's a
exactly.
no-brainer, the timing is bad on this. If there's any, they're saying they're going to camp on time, and let's say that happens, but I think it's become pretty much accepted, although it hasn't been said yet, there isn't going to be 4 preseason games. It's going to look very different going into the regular season. I think what we do know, Bill Belichick can take a game plan, tear it up, and throw it out. They're a completely different offense each and every week, and that's something I wonder. There's something we don't know about Cam Newton, right? For his entire tenure in Carolina, and successfully so, the offensive plan was, Cam, you do what you got to do to move the ball up and down the field. That's not how a Bill Belichick offense works. So does Belichick, does he adapt to that level to run what's a completely different offensive style? And does Cam Newton then have the ability to be a completely different quarterback week in and week out, month over month, game over game, hell, half over half? How many times, for 2 or 3 weeks, Tom Brady, all he does is hit his back foot and throw it as far as he can. And then other times, everything's those 3-yard little hitches, bing, bang, boom, 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 up the field. We know Cam Newton can't do that. And that's where I really think this lack of preseason, this lack of full normal camp, I think this hurts Cam Newton more than anything. Actually, the more we talk about this, Rick, I don't think Cam Newton makes his football team. The more I think about it, I don't see them carrying him and Hoyer and Stidham. He's going to stick with Stidham. He's supposedly the quarterback of the future. I'm doing the air quotes thing. Not all 3 of those guys are making that team, and I think Cam's going to be the odd man out. I just talked myself into that.
Yeah, the biggest question to me is, in a roundabout way, just as directly as I can from everything that you said, can Cam Newton walk in and basically surgically dissect a good football team, I'll say the Pittsburgh Steelers,
Right?
And just walk down the field?
It's not who he is.
No, I just don't think that's going to happen. It's just not. That's just not him.
Now, we certainly know Bill Belichick has the ability to create a whole new offense overnight. And let's assume that Cam Newton and Bill Belichick can get on the same page, and Bill Belichick can build that offense to suit Cam Newton's very unique abilities and very unique successes. Does Bill Belichick want to? I mean, that's a drastic change, right? We knew it was going to be different, but boy, this is going 180 degrees the other way. That's the thing I really wonder about. And I think it's not about personality. It's not about the Superman thing and the cool hats and any of that stuff.
Well, it is about the cool hats.
Well, it's always about the cool. I love a good hat. But, that's kind of what everybody being lazy about this wants to throw out. This is never going to work because of this stuff. Look, if Bill Belichick's winning games, he doesn't care. I guarantee you that. And I think it doesn't take long for anybody in that locker room to fall more into that Patriot way. It's been the rare occasion where somebody hasn't been able to adapt to that. So I have no doubt Bill Belichick, none of that they're going to worry. I just don't know that their particular styles and ways of doing things matches up. And you keep saying, and you're absolutely right, Rick, there isn't. Now, Cam Newton played a long time in Carolina without a lot of great offensive weapons around him. Cupboard's about bare up there in New England, so I don't think that bodes well for this thing either. So, like I said, all of this, I've convinced myself it's not going to work.
I'm right there with you. I mean, is he going to be, just horrible and so forth, and they're going to win 4 games and all this, that? Yeah, no. I mean, it's still Cam Newton, but it's just going to be so drastically different. I actually don't think that Cam Newton was signed to be the starter, quite frankly. I know already people say, you're a moron.
Well, I say that all the time, but I might agree with this stance.
No, but my point is not, look, we know what Cam Newton can be, But I go back to your point. I think Belichick has his eye on Stidham.
Seems
But
like it.
Cam Newton was out there. Cam Newton comes into camp. He's healthy. He's got a great attitude, and he's really into the Patriots way, yada, yada, and he's really impressing. Of course he's going to start. That's just a stupid statement to say he wasn't coming in to start. But my point is, I'm not sure if they know exactly what they're going to get. Belichick has already figured out Stidham's his guy, but gee, now we have this new toy.
Right.
If it's a healthy toy, he's going to be a better toy.
Yeah,
He's going to be more fun to play with.
And it might be, and that's a good point. If that defense is as good as it was last year, if the special teams is as good as it was last year, if the division is as bad as it was last year and in years past, don't you feel like you could – see, now you're swinging me the other way. I'm a bipolar here. Now, don't you feel like, all right, you could run it about 60% winning percentage. You could go 5-3 or something for half a year with Stidham in that running game and Bill Belichick and that defense and that special teams, getting Cam up to speed and then go on some big run at the end. I'm not saying that's what's going to happen, but I wouldn't be surprised if that's what's in Bill Belichick's mind with that, and then if Stidham takes off, then you just here's Tom Brady 2.0, which people in New England at least 3 weeks ago were telling you. Now they tell you Cam Newton's the second coming of Jesus. So that's the Boston sports fan, I grant you. But I think when you look at that, it's a pretty good backup plan to have. A guy who was a league MVP, who played in the Super Bowl, who was literally one of the most dynamic players in the league not all that long ago. Oh, yeah, and you got him for what's the equivalent of a nickel and a cup of coffee. I mean, it's craziness.
Yeah, exactly. That is the key. I mean, that's what makes that so intriguing. And that was another thing that sort of, because things do irk me. Believe it or not.
No.
They do, really. Sometimes things get under my skin, and I react to them.
That's just pathetic.
Exactly. But it's the now you lost my train of thought. I hate when you do that. But things get under my skin. What am I even
I don't
thinking
know.
about?
But I'm just going to sit here quietly and wait while you stumble and bumble.
But Bill, we're talking
Try
about...
not to swallow your tongue. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
When are the two of you going to grow up? I mean, this shtick was cute for a while, but it's gotten stale.
Oh, God. That was just terrible.
All right, we're waiting.
Well, if you would quit playing with the buttons.
All right, my hands are here. You go ahead.
Right. And
it's gone. The moment's gone.
It's long gone.
Things bother
It will come back when we're talking about another sport, and by God, you'll hear the point.
And things bother you, and I don't know where you were going. Usually I can predict.
We were talking about Bill Belichick and the cup of coffee and the nickel.
Right, yeah.
Right. And
things
somebody
get under
said
your skin.
something on Twitter, of course, that irked me. And I was really upset about the whole situation, and I really wanted to get this point across. But I just don't think I'm going to be able to tonight.
Here's where we are with the show here. Of course, your buttons don't work.
Yeah, it did. That was the giggle.
Oh, I heard it now. All right. So here's what I'm curious. Let's say Cam Newton ends up being the starter. All right. Does this? I think you've made the point, and I agree with you, that this doesn't make the New England Patriots better than the Chiefs, better than the Ravens. I think those are the two obvious top two in the conference, and you can throw in who everybody else. Does this make it more likely, less likely, or it wouldn't matter even if Tom Brady was back, that New England Patriots keep up this absurd many years of winning that division? Does Buffalo take this thing now? Does New England take a step back? Or where are we at with New England heading into this year now with this next piece being added?
Well, it's certainly going to be a closer division, obviously, with the improvements of Buffalo, who was a very good team last year. Miami looks to be a lot better. The Jets are the Jets. Who knows with that squad there? But No, I think it's going to be a toss-up division. Right now, until I see a little bit, I'm leaning Buffalo, quite frankly. I just think that they're together. McDermott has done a whale of a job, I think, with that team.
Right.
If we go back a couple of years ago, we were talking about them winning 3-4 games, and they won, I don't know what it was, like 6, and we said, man, these guys doing a lot with nothing. Had a nice improvement last year. Got a good defense. Allen's starting to look good. They're adding some weapons. I tell you, I like Buffalo.
Yeah, I think what's interesting with them, this is why I'm rooting for Cam Newton to be the starter. Think about this for a minute. If you bring in the similarities between these two teams, really good top 6 or 7 in the league defenses, really good special teams. Now you bring in a Cam Newton. Now you have a Cam Newton and Josh Allen, two inaccurate pocket passers who can run the football and can control the game with the threat to their legs and the ability to run for first downs and run for touchdowns. They're almost identical teams at that point. So then it becomes down to then what wins out. The as good as McDermott's done, the genius of Bill Belichick over McDermott, or the youth of Josh Allen over a Cam Newton. It's actually really interesting when you think about it. If you put Cam Newton as the starting quarterback for the New England Patriots, they're almost the exact same team.
Right. And the thing is about this, there's a couple of ways this scenario can go as well. Does Belichick decide, okay, I had Stidham as my guy, and they start off 4-0. Look at me, I'm a genius.
Yeah.
They start off 2-2, 1-3. Hey, here comes Cam Newton.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, they go on their 6-game winning streak, which they do anyway. It doesn't matter who's playing quarterback.
You could play
now,
quarterback.
Bill Belichick's yet another genius.
Yeah.
And they're still waltzing to victories. There's a lot of ways this can play out. This should be interesting. This is an intriguing story, I think, quite
really
frankly.
is.
I like it.
It's not the guarantee everybody thinks it is, but I think that's what makes it most interesting.
Right.
It could be another Super Bowl run for New England. Cam Newton, when healthy a few years ago, is that good, right? He took a team nowhere near as good as this Patriots team to the Super Bowl not that long ago. It could be an absolute nothing. He might be getting cut right now. We don't know. And it could be anywhere in between. That's going to be fun. One thing I do keep thinking about, it's going to be almost all Patriots all the time. So now we've added this in. I think this has been all over social media since Tom Brady left and went to Tampa Bay, and now this kind of ramps it back up. Who's better this year? Tom Brady without Bill Belichick in Tampa Bay, or Bill Belichick in New England without Tom Brady, now with Cam Newton or Stidham or Hoyer or God knows who else he could bring in between?
Well, I don't think Bill Belichick is as good without Tom Brady.
Well, no, right.
But I think Tom Brady's going to be a better Tom Brady because he goes down to Tampa and stands around and looks at Mike Evans. He looks at Chris Godwin. And, there's weapons down there at his disposal. So, I mean, obviously, I think Tom Brady's going to be better away from New England simply because from a talent standpoint. Belichick, I think, is still pigeonholed in a talent, not less, but, depleted offense.
Right.
And he's going to have to make some magic work. Look, the defense is going to be there. The special teams is going to be there. But I just think it's going to be tougher for Belichick to maintain than it is for Brady.
I guess what I should ask, though, now knowing that, but then looking at the divisions, looking at the competition, who wins more games in 2020? Tom Brady or Bill Belichick? I still think it's Belichick. I really do. I don't see Tampa Bay, you're supposed to say now. Did you see that?
I will not say Tampa Bay.
You will say
no,
Tampa
I
Bay.
Will not
it is
say.
The mandate.
I will not say
it's
Tampa.
Just sports. Tampa Bay.
No, I'm not. It's Tampa Bay.
Gronka Bay? Will you say that?
No.
Is that a thing, or did I just make that up?
No. That could be
I
something
asked you
we
two
could use.
questions. The answer can't be no.
Why not? It's a question. No. No. That's what I tell my kids all the time.
If I give you an either or, it can't be no.
With me, it can.
Well, that's
the
true.
kids go, can I have a cookie or a donut? No. Right? Can I have ice cream or pie? No.
Well, why can't they have pie? If there's
Well,
pie.
whatever. Just whatever.
So you're telling me if you had pie,
Well, I probably would have eaten it.
well, that's a fair point. Yeah. There's not enough pie. need
I
more
love pie.
My wife makes a good pie.
I
but she
love
doesn't
pie.
make them
What's your
very
favorite pie? Okay, let's narrow it down. What's your favorite fruit pie?
Blackberry.
That's right
Black
up.
raspberry.
That's right up there.
whatever.
I'm blackberry. I'm with you. I like that and a good peach pie. As far as
I'm not
fruit.
a peach guy.
Really?
I don't mind a peach pie, but I'm
Right.
not a peach guy.
I do like blackberry pie. Now that's it. Now blackberries with cobbler.
Yeah, that
you know,
might be better.
We'll go with that. But fruit pie, apple is cherry. I like cherry pie.
Yeah.
I got to go with cherry.
The
Nah,
warden
I do
makes a
like
good-
pumpkin pie.
The warden makes a good strawberry pie.
Really?
too. That's pretty good.
Okay,
It's basically just a crust with
strawberries.
strawberry jello and strawberries. You can't really
Whipped
can't
cream
go
or
wrong.
something like
I
that.
don't mess with the whipped cream.
Oh man, I love getting those cans of Ready Whip and just emptying like the can.
I feel like that dulls the flavor of my fruit pie.
It may indeed. Did you ever try?
What kind of pie wouldn't be? Oh, I just interrupted you again.
No,
Did I
it's
ever
okay.
try what?
Did you ever try, especially like a fruit pie, a hot apple pie, hot peach, cherry, anything, and put like a couple slices of cheddar cheese over
Oh,
it?
you are
and
a
let that
serial killer like my mother. She
Let
does
that
this.
melt on
Yeah,
that.
She's putting cheese on apple pie. all
Oh,
the
it's
time.
delicious.
And she went on this jag for a while. I can remember when I was a kid,
It's
where
delicious.
she would bake the damn cheese right into the apple pie. Ruin a perfect. Who puts cheese on a pie?
Lots of people.
Apparently, you and my mother, you're serial killers. This is terrible. Dude puts cheese on
Won-
an apple pie.
It's wonderful.
Where did this idea come
It is
from?
wonderful.
But then to bake it into it, so it's like a grilled cheese with apples in it. It was
Man,
horrific.
boy, I can't hardly beat that, huh?
But on a that's I thought she was the only one. I just assumed she was insane. Well, I
Well,
guess
she had you,
doing
she
it
has
as,
to be.
you doing it as well doesn't preclude her from being insane. I guess it's not.
I don't
exact-
know. It is wonderful.
But anyhow, you said what's your favorite fruit pie?
Right.
What's a non-fruit pie?
Well, like banana. Well, I guess banana cream would be a fruit pie, but I was thinking more cream pies like pumpkin pie, custard
I
pie,
like a pumpkin
chocolate
pie.
cream pie, things of that nature.
Yeah, none of that stuff ever. I don't like the key lime. The
Oh, I love key lime.
Any of that
Lemon
stuff.
meringue's not bad.
I
I'm
don't
not
like
crazy
that.
about meringue, but I don't mind the lemon.
yeah, I don't like that. I do like everybody likes a pumpkin pie.
Yeah, I do like
What
that.
part of the pumpkin is the pie?
It's the meat on the inside. You cut out the top. See, I used to
Well, I figured
cook
you'd
down my
know.
pumpkin all the time. You take the seeds and all that stuff out. We used to roast the seeds, put like garlic salt and stuff like that on them. And
I
roast
do
them.
that, yeah, when we do the
Well, you get rid of all the
jack-o'-lantern bit.
seeds,
Yeah.
and then I mean,
So it's
you
not
could-
the guts and in the stringy stuff, it's the meat on the
It's
inside.
the meat on the inside of the
All right.
wall. And I tell you another thing you can do. We're way off topic
I
here.
don't care. It's,
No.
They haven't played any sports in 4
Yeah,
years
exactly.
at this point.
But I have and it's delicious. You take a pumpkin,
All right.
take all the seeds and stuff out, like we were talking about, and then in a big pot, make beef stew.
Okay.
Big chunks of beef, potatoes, carrots, all that onions in it, like a thick gravy, right? Pour that into the pumpkin, put the lid back on it, brush a little cooking oil over it so it doesn't burn, bake it in the oven for about an hour and a half. And
The
then when you're
pumpkin?
done, yes, with the stew
Fill
in
with
it.
stew and it
Yes.
doesn't melt or
No, it
dissolve?
doesn't. No, you just got to make sure that, you don't cook
Nice-
it until it just destroys itself.
Nice sturdy pumpkin.
Pull the lid off, and then when you scoop the stew out, you take a little bit of pumpkin off the side, and it's in with the stew. It's delicious.
Sounds like a lot of work.
No, it's easy.
So
I
I gotta
mean,
cook a stew. I gotta gut a pumpkin, and then I gotta put the stew in the pumpkin and put it in the oven.
yeah, it's not hard.
I'd rather go to Taco Bell at that point.
Well, yeah, but you don't do any of this stuff anyway. Your wife does it all.
Oh, that's true.
Well, simple.
I'm a kept man at this point. I'm basically
You're
incapable of doing.
You'd be homeless if it wasn't for her.
Well, certainly. Hey, well, let's stick with the Patriots, Rick. I think the real reason Cam Newton was signed by the Patriots is literally 14 seconds after the news of the Cam Newton signing comes across the wire. News of the New England Patriots punishment from the league for filming the Bengals sideline comes across the wire, a $1.1 million fine, which, boy, that's really going to hurt
That's
a
gonna kill 'em.
franchise like the New England Patriots.
Maybe
Well,
that's why they didn't offer Cam so much.
they didn't have any money
Yeah,
left. Yeah, they'd have
exactly.
given him
That fine murdered
They'd
him.
have given him $2 million to start and $9 million with incentives, but they didn't have it left. The one that will hurt a Bill Belichick, a loss of a 2021 third-round pick.
Now they'll only have 14 picks.
He always has 97 third-round picks. The Pats TV crew not allowed to shoot any 2020 games. I don't know what that means or care, but here's my favorite one, Rick. My absolute favorite. This tells you the NFL is not immune from the stupidity of the corporate world. Senior club officials, I assume that's Bill Belichick, right?
And
the
Mr.
GM
Kraft,
and
I'm
Kraft,
guessing.
are required to take training on league operations and game day policy. It's going to be like the sexual harassment video you watch on your first day of employment at McDonald's, and I wish they need to put a camera on Bill Belichick going through this.
Oh, I would love it. What Mr. Belichick, do you know what the answer to this question is? We're looking forward to Cincinnati
on
next
to
week.
Cincinnati.
Yeah, on to Cincinnati. But hey, before we go any further with Bill Belichick as a pupil, got to tell everybody about mybookie8.ag. You know, sports are coming back, and if you want to get in the action, mybookie.ag is the place to be. They're going to match your deposit up to $1,000. They're going to match it up to $1,000, Rick, when you use a promo code 12OZ Sports when signing up. That's 12-ounce sports. 12OZ Sports. When you sign up on mybookie.ag, you don't want to miss your chance to cash a ticket. Look, we got NHL playoffs and NBA playoffs supposedly coming up. And, tune into 12-ounce sports. Use the promo code 12-ounce sports when signing up to mybookie.ag. And your deposit match up to $1,000.
So here's what you do. You put in $1,000, they match it for $1,000, and you lay it all on one game and see what happens.
Yeah.
That's what you do.
You either win or you don't.
Yeah, or you wear a barrel. Do people still do that when they're broke? Wear a barrel and roam around the streets homeless.
Why not?
That's what I would do.
Go to CHOP.
Well, that's not there anymore. That's why
That's
people
right,
don't
yeah.
know this. That's why Rick's back in studio. He's been chased out of CHOP at the end of a bayonet, and now he's back in studio. He liked to pretend this was some virtuous thing. What did you call it? Practicing safe broadcasting. No, he was just in CHOP.
I was hoping that Alejandro was out there, but
I almost
couldn't find him.
I guarantee he rolled through there at some point. I mean, that's right up his alley. So, last thing with this Patriots thing in this punishment, I don't care. This, again, is just a ridiculous slap on the wrist. Does this Deflategate, what was the other gate, Spygate, does any of this in reality scar this run by the Patriots?
No.
30 years from now, when we're talking about this Patriots run, well, you'll be dead when I'll be dead. So, but when
Somebody will be
talking about this 30 years from now. Is this even a blip? Does this even come up?
No.
I don't think it does
No.
either. So many. It will to angry Steelers fans, right? and
No,
rivals.
I don't see why, quite frankly. I mean, we are depressed Steeler fans, and we never attributed anything to cheating. They got outcoached. They got
Right.
torched about every time they played.
Right.
And, really, Pittsburgh had very few excuses as to why they got destroyed so many times by the New England Patriots.
Right. And that's what, I mean, it keeps coming up, right? And that was the story around this. Oh, it comes up and this tarnishes their leg. I don't think it does.
No, it doesn't.
Look, it's a footnote, right? Bill Belichick would always find where the line is, take a step and a half.
Are they going to
over it.
keep Tom Brady out of the Hall of Fame because he had Deflategate?
Exactly.
Is he? Are they?
No, absolutely
of course not.
No, I think it comes up, right? Maybe not with Brady so much. I think it comes up with New England. It's like a footnote in the obituary when they come back to earth at some point. But I think 10, 15, 20 years from now, you look at what this team has accomplished. Yeah, they cheated. I'm doing the air quotes thing here. They cheated. Nothing. I don't know. It just seems it's an easy way for embittered fans who Tom Brady and Bill Belichick have just bent over a table and take. Well, I'm going too far, but you know,
and hit him on the head or
you
something.
know what
yeah,
I'm getting at here. Yeah. I go in. I guess I watched a lot of NASCAR growing up. If you ain't cheating, you ain't trying, right? Wasn't that Richard Petty? I think so. You say
Right.
I think it's just nothing. I think it's a nonsense.
It's totally nothing, quite frankly. So no, I agree with you. It doesn't. It's not going to put any sort of asterisk in the record books. It's not going to put any, and especially 30, 40 years from now, the Flake game. What's that?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nothing. Oh, they took air out of the footballs. Yeah. So what? So nobody cares. But anyway, I got a little story. I was going to tell last week.
Are you going to remember it this
Yeah,
time?
well, yes,
Okay.
right here. Now, we all know, this is a true story, too, because this actually came out of his writings, But everyone remembers, Leonardo da Vinci, he invented, conceptually invented, like, the parachute, the helicopter, things of that nature back then. They obviously couldn't fly. He invented the diving suit. Absolute brilliant mind. Painted the Mona Lisa, The Last Supper, John the Baptist. I mean, we know all that kind of stuff too, right?
I wouldn't say
now,
we, but I'll play along.
well, all the humans out there.
Oh, okay.
Because Bobby the Brain Heenan would say all the humanoids out there know exactly what I'm talking
I
about.
got to say, I did not know he was an inventor. I knew he was an artist of some sort.
Right.
I didn't know he invented the parachute and what was the
Yeah,
other thing?
diving
The
suit. Conceptually invented the helicopter.
I was unaware of
a
that.
machine gun. All kinds of things. Yeah,
Yeah, I was
You've seen that
honestly
drawing
unaware
of
of that.
man with the arms going up. You know
Yeah,
how that?
yeah.
Well, that's him.
Well, I thought it was just a neat painting.
No.
I didn't know it was like a
But
patent.
anyway,
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
when Leonardo da Vinci was going to paint The Last Supper. Now, I don't know what this story means, but he felt it necessary to write down and had a meaning. It might have had something to do with life in general, what it can do to a person. I don't know. Anyway, so he's going to paint The Last Supper. So obviously he had to paint Jesus and the 12 disciples around the table. Well, he needed inspiration. He needed models. So he went out, and I think it was in Milan, I think is where he lived at the time. And he searched for people, like he had visions in his head of like what Jesus would have looked like or what Simon would have looked like, etc. So the first person he gets is what he thought Jesus would look like. Brought the guy into the studio, took however many days to put this on canvas. And as the painting progressed, he would go around and he would pick some, this is Bartholomew, whatever, bring him in. And that's how he painted all these figures on the painting, all right? Time went by. He got to Judas Iscariot. 11 years went by. He could not find anybody that would remind him in his head of the vision he had for Judas Iscariot for the painting. And
He had the vision. Why didn't he just paint the vision?
Well, because he needed models, I
Oh,
guess,
all right.
For a reference point.
So in
I
other words,
guess.
he was tracing. This is what you're telling me.
No, he didn't trace a person for
He
God's
could
sake.
have.
No, he
It's like
couldn't
when
have.
you make those hand turkeys at Thanksgiving. Trace your hand, you turn it into a turkey.
Nah.
So that's essentially what the last.
That's just
Supper
what
was.
your body turns into as a turkey. Anyway, 11 years goes by. And, of course, he's doing various other things, probably inventing diving suits and helicopters and everything else. He's walking down the street. He sees this guy. Hard eyes, a scowl on his face. He does not look trustworthy. He doesn't look happy. All right? So he approaches him. Hey, got a job for you, pal. You want to make a buck? So he comes over. The third day, he's modeling for Judas. The guy starts crying. And Leonardo da Vinci, probably pissed at first because he was really getting into the painting.
You get the guy
But
over here sobbing like
He couldn't figure
kid.
out what was going on. So he says, what's the matter? He says, you don't remember me, do you? He says, no. He says, 11 years ago, I was your model for Jesus. And now I am Judas the traitor.
And Leah, whatever, Da Vinci didn't realize this?
No.
He
He
was
looked totally different. There's 11 years
So he
had
fell
passed.
on hard times? Is that what
Apparently.
we
I mean,
said?
yeah, whatever, something in his life obviously changed his outer appearance and his demeanor and went from basically saint to traitor in 11 years in, the way that
So this is
he
like some
looked.
life lesson you're trying to teach.
I don't know.
me
That's
here,
what I'm
isn't it?
saying. I don't know what the story means, how life can affect people or something. Just an interesting story, I thought. Means absolutely nothing in the world of sports, but
I'm guessing 11 years ago, I was more Jesus than Judas, and I'm probably whatever's 3 steps worse than Judas right now. I think we're all like that since the beginning of this COVID nonsense, anyhow.
yeah, but I don't know if they had the COVID back then. If they did,
They
probably
had
just-
to have something.
Well, they probably had smallpox. He was dead in a
Yeah,
week. So,
yeah.
I mean, this guy should have been happy he lived 11 years.
Well, that's a fair point, too. I think to survive another 11 years as an adult in those days.
Exactly.
See, but here's where the guy screwed up. Da Vinci, I mean. If he'd have done the tracing like the hand turkeys,
Uh-huh.
he'd have known right away. Wait a minute, I got...
This head's the same size.
Did he ever explain why they all sat on the same side of the table? I can't believe for a minute that was true.
Well,
That's just
it's
weird.
kind of like the TV shows. Why do they always, when they're having dinner,
Yeah.
why are they all sitting on top of each other? So the people can see them.
Okay.
Well, that's the way they do it in the painting. Why would you want to see the back of 6 heads? That's just not...
Well, it would be realistic. I mean, 12 grown men sitting on the same side of the table? That's freaking weird.
I'm just saying, it's kind of like in television back in the day. They wanted you to project, see everybody. That's the way it was.
Yeah, I don't like it.
Oh, well.
But you know who is happy today and will be for
Well, it's neither one of us. so-
several more days is Bobby Bonilla. It's Bobby Bonilla Day, Rick,
Yeah.
every July 1st.
Ain't that something?
Gets another $1.19 million today and will do such through 2035 when he's age 72. He hasn't played a baseball game since 2001. Talk about the greatest contract in the history of time.
Oh, there's no doubt about that. And that was a la Stan Musial back in the 40s and 50s. He had some long, huge contract. Obviously not that kind of money.
Right.
But, it was probably pretty lucrative during the day. But, yeah, it's just brilliant. And he's going to get, almost $2 million a year till he's 72. or whatever.
1.19
One-
million
yeah,
every
1.19.
July 1st until 2035.
Nice.
Here's what I didn't know about this. Do you know how this thing came about? So they deferred this money and paid 8% interest. And there was somebody advising the New York Mets at the time when this deal was signed. What was it, 1999, 2000, whatever year this deal was signed, that the money in hand, it had been about $5 or $6 million, I think. I'm probably being lowballing it here, but it was some much lower amount of money that this advisor told them, rather than pay this money out and right now, it is more worthwhile to you in the hand right now and to defer this money over this absurd amount of years and pay 8% on top of it. Do you know who that advisor was?
No.
Bernie Madoff.
No kidding.
This is the first I'd ever heard. It might not even be true. I read it on Twitter. I was in the bathroom this morning. It's
Well, if it was on the internet, it had to be
well,
true,
that's
right?
on Twitter. I
Well,
mean,
yeah.
For God's sake, that's absolutely how it all it could be. Now you're just pushing buttons. To push buttons.
Oh, if it's on Twitter, it's gospel, right?
Well, that's what I figure.
Yeah.
So.
So, we got another story, but it's not sports related.
Let's have it. We got 15 minutes left, and I'm flat out of sports to talk about. So,
Well, I mean, we actually could talk about like the effect, but everybody and their brothers talking about the uncertainty of sports
I'm done
with the
talking about
COVID.
it. I'm
We
done.
all know that it's
done.
either going to happen or it's not.
Yeah.
When the hockey playoffs start, you and I are going to talk some hockey, right?
How cool is it, though, that it looks like now it's not official, but they're kind of with everything going on in Nevada now. I guess Nevada's a hot spot now. I wasn't even aware of that until today. But now it looks like the 2 hub cities are going to be Toronto and Edmonton. How badass would that be to
Yeah.
play this thing in Canada?
Canada.
I like that. I actually
do
like
too.
that. Not that
do,
anybody
too.
will be there. There's no fans. So
Oh,
it won't be-
Toronto's one of the largest cities in North America. Of course they're going to be there. And Edmonton,
Not in the building, I mean.
Well,
it
true,
would be even
right,
cooler.
gotcha.
It would be even
yeah.
cooler if you had Canadian, like actual knowledgeable hockey fans, not like these Capital and Tampa Bay Lightning fans in Nashville, that nonsense. So you're not going to have that. It's just cool that this weird thing, this weird tournament in two cities is going to be played in Canada. I like that.
I do too. There's a story that came out just yesterday, June 30th, by Adam Aspinall, talking about Dead Woman's Ditch, which is named after the murder of Jane Walford by her husband John Walford in 1789 on the Quantock Hills in Somerset. Okay? Now, ghost hunters have been probing some reports of a potty-mouthed ghost swearing at tourists at this place. Obviously, with the legend of the murder, it has become a tourist attraction. Well, apparently the angry apparition is said to be a woman in white who tells people to F off in an area known as Dead Woman's Ditch.
I'm with her.
Christine and Dave Thomas are investigating the site named after the murder of Jane Walford by her husband John, and the couple say they picked up on a voice which told them to F off. They also claim to have encountered a murderer from 1798. Dave said, "My wife has experienced it for a long time." I don't really know what that means. They encountered a murderer?
So it follows them around?
I don't know.
See, that's why I don't want to ghost hunt. Like, if I could just go and check out the ghosts and everything, that'd be cool. But it seems to me for most of these shows, some of these things follow you home, and I don't need that hassle all the time.
But, there's residual memories being replayed. This is a quote. That there are voices you can interact with. Some can be quite nasty and evil. Not everybody's aware of ghosts. Now, you believe in them.
Oh, I'm all in.
Locals claimed online to have had things thrown at them by the ghost. Not only does she swear, she throws stuff at them. Cameron Kelly wrote, "When you walk across a car park and a post-it notepad falls out of the sky with no one or buildings near the middle of the car park." Where's this ghost get a post-it notepad?
Yeah.
From 1789? Did they have
Do
that
they even
then?
know what they are? So, in other words, this idiot's walking by and somebody threw a pack of Post-its out the window at him.
Yeah,
and they think
and this
it's
is
a
supposed to be
murder.
some big ghost story. A few days later in the same place, both myself and my friend hear whispering in our ears the words, "Hello." Wow. This is getting really spooky, folks.
I prefer the one that tells you to F off.
Yeah,
Now, that I can
I
get
really
behind.
like that. I like that. He mumbled hello, and I said hello back. It was a winter's evening, so dark, the man got near me and was looking down towards the ground wearing a cap. I looked back to see no man there. I'd walked that way and knew that there was nowhere he could go along the canal, and there was no splashes or anyone falling in the water. Why do all these encounters always happen kind of like UFO sightings? It's always over a trailer park in Arkansas or something at 1 in the morning.
Yeah.
I mean, where everybody is completely sane and they're under no influence of any alcohol or drugs, right? At 1 o'clock in the morning in a trailer park, they see all these aliens and everything. Same with the ghosts. They're always on a little path in the middle of the woods at 2 in the morning. Why they're there to start with, I have no idea. But then they encounter these ghosts, and of course, there's no proof of it. Look, they threw it at me. It's holding up a post-it notepad, right?
Well, if you watch those shows, you get all kind of good stuff. You get the voice
I think that's what
recordings.
we ought to do. Get one of those cameras with the green light and walk around the woods in the dark and go, whoa, 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 what is that?
I'd do that.
And then we say it's a ghost.
We could go ghost hunting. We could get EVPs, they call them, electronic voice
I
phenomena.
looked online. You can buy all kinds of ghost-finding
Oh, you
equipment.
can buy a whole kit, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's what we ought to do. Maybe have a new edition of It's Just Ghosts.
Oh.
Wouldn't that be great?
I would watch that show. Or
Drop
listen to
us a
that
line
show.
at It's Just Sports 123. Tell us some ghost hot spots. Me and Rick will head right on out there.
I'll do it. I do. I want to get this machine. This one, what I don't know. They all Ghost Adventures, I think it's called. And I admit I've watched every episode of this show. It's got this like frat guy. He's all yoked up and he's real excitable. So I like that. He's just yelling and running and carrying on all the time. So they have this piece of equipment, all right? And what it is, it goes, and it's like a camera, right? It looks like an iPad sitting on like a radar gun is kind of what the thing looks like. And he walks around and scans that thing around.
Oh, yeah,
now,
man.
Now, believe me, I believe in ghosts. I believe in a lot of this stuff. But this one,
Yeah, I know you do.
This one bothers me. And so what it is, for the life of me, I can't remember what the thing's called. And so what it does is it can pick up, the seeing a ghost that the naked eye can't see. So what it does is it'll start to flash a little bit, and it'll say anomaly acquired. And before long, all of a sudden, a stick figure will pop up on this thing. It's like plot points of the stick figure. And it'll be sitting there, it'll be going like this. You can't see me, obviously. We're only doing audio. And he's
Why are the ghost stick figures?
Well, because it's just mapping them out. So, like, if I put the thing on you, it would show you as a stick figure. And then they put it out into the abyss. And then all of a sudden, and it'll, like, wave to them. And sometimes, even though it doesn't have fingers, they've postulated that it's been giving them the finger because it'll kind of turn the forearm around and lift it up. And that one bothers me a little bit.
I just put in ghost hunting equipment in Google here.
All right.
We can get a spirit box for $69.90.
Oh, the spirit
plus
box.
We get a free speaker.
Well, you got to have that.
We have an EVP wrist recorder 3 we could get for $55.95. A K2 EMF meter for only $59.90. That's mine. It's got like a lot of colors, a whole bunch of little lights. There's a full spectrum POV cam for only $155.95, and you get a free light. A puck infrared light for only $110. 360-degree puck infrared light. A thermal cam for only $500. I mean, you could get into the ghost hunting business for around $1,000 and have everything.
For what you listed there, we could get change back on a
motion
$1,000
sensor
bill.
alarm.
You
Gotta have one of those.
I think you're mocking this, Rick.
Oh, or you could get a Spirit Box ghost hunting kit for $189.95. Now, I just clicked on this, and I'll tell you everything you get because it's on sale from $252. You get a little flashlight. You get the little wrist thing that I was telling you about. Yeah. You get the S-Box ghost scanner. You get the Spirit Box, obviously, with a free speaker. And there's just a few other little doodads in here. Oh, there it is right there. Ghost scanner, EMF meter, wrist recorder, a gear case. I don't know what that is. And a
case
flashlight.
To put the gear in, you idiot.
Well, it's a gear case. Yeah, it keeps your gear safe. I was thinking like gears of a car. I didn't know what they were talking about. But I tell you what, this just could be it.
I'd like to have one of those because you could just carry. You don't even know what the Spirit Box does. You just mock it without knowing what.
No, it has a free speaker. You find it finds the spirits.
No, it doesn't find the spirit. So
it records them.
No, you don't know what you're talking about. The Spirit Box, what it does is it takes a rapid scan of the FM dial, or you could probably do AM. I don't know, of radio frequencies. So it goes, thousandths of a second per, and it scans through that entire frequency spectrum. And apparently the ghosts have the ability to talk across that spectrum, and it picks up their voices. So it'll go like picture, if you were scanning the old style dial radio real fast, and that sound it would make, and then just all of a sudden it'll say like that ghost you were talking about, F off, and it's pretty cool. I like that.
Well, what prevents it from picking up like Light My Fire or
because it's moving too fast. I mean, it's scanning through thousands of times.
Yeah, but maybe we just pick up a little microsecond of Jim Morrison screaming, and you think it's a ghost.
It's probably his ghost.
Well, okay, but what if it's somebody that's alive, like Dolly Parton?
Dolly Parton's still alive?
Of course she is.
Really? Good for her.
Yeah, no doubt.
She got to be looking rough these days. Although she's had enough plastic surgery, she might look exactly the same.
I don't.
Like the mannequin.
She doesn't look the
version of
same.
Dolly
No, I mean she looks a little bit scary. Yeah, mannequin-like.
Hey, just across the wire here, Rick, if we could go back to sports for a second.
I would love to, but I'm running out of ghost stuff.
The NFL has officially cut the 2020 preseason in half to 2 games they just announced.
Good.
What do you think? The only thing I find interesting about that is how do you think coaches handled that? in terms of playing time for regulars and starters, and what's it mean for guys kind of on the end and on the edge of the roster?
I think they're just going to have to make early determinations. And look, we know Ben Roethlisberger is going to start for the Steelers, so maybe he plays a quarter or two in the second preseason game.
Does he even do that, do you think?
Well, Ben's not a really good example, but even say like Saquon Barkley, do you give them any reps just to get a little bit of game hits? I don't know. I don't know how that works.
Because it's kind of changed in recent years. That's what's interesting, right, Rick? So for a long time, until I'd say even only 3 or 4 years ago, it was a guarantee what was going to happen, right? In the first preseason game, all the starters played one series. In the second preseason game, they'd play a quarter. In the third preseason game, they'd play a half. And in the last preseason game, they didn't play at all. And now it's kind of shifted in the last couple years. In the first preseason game, they played not at all. They played maybe a series or two in the second. Maybe a quarter, maybe a half in the third, and still none in the fourth. Now, this kind of changes but what you've seen is teams, I guess what I was getting at, teams holding out the star running back. A quarterback maybe only playing a series or two in the whole preseason, if none at all. Now you shorten it down. What I wonder is the NFL, the coaches, the NFL doesn't make any determination of it. Do we get to the point where it's like college, especially if we go to the 17th and 18th game, where we're just going to go in cold in the regular season like colleges do and only use the preseason for looking at that younger, unproven talent? Or I think
maybe that's the way to go if you think about it, Rick. How many severe injuries have we seen over the years, especially back in our fantasy football days, prepping for people's drafts, and all of a sudden somebody blows a knee a week before the season starts and it throws your drafts off, etc. Maybe that is the way to go. Why does Saquon Barkley need reps? He knows how to run the football. Right. Drew Brees knows how to pass the football.
Seems to have been going
Maybe
that
the
way.
first couple of games of the year, the offenses don't click quite as good. You see a little more defensively dominated football games, but it catches up, and they start clicking. So, yeah, maybe that's the way to go. I like it. I praise it. I think it's ridiculous. The Steelers were on tap for 5 preseason games this year.
Yeah.
Them and the Cowboys. I mean, that's ludicrous. They don't need 5 preseason games. If they would cut it down to 2, and I guess give the third one, the Hall of Fame game, they're going to get
their game, and they should.
Yeah,
I like that.
That's
tradition.
fine. But I think 2's fine. I see no reason for it. They've already extended the season. I'm with you. Cut it back.
This feels like one that's going to stick to me, right? Like they're doing it out of necessity. But here you go. You buy yourself 2 more weeks to make sure everything's good to go for week 1. I think it will be interesting, finally something interesting in the preseason to watch how coaches handle this, what teams do. Like I guess I don't think that. I don't know. What does Ben Roethlisberger basically missed all of last season? Do they give him some reps? What is a team? You look at Washington with Dwayne Haskins, or teams assuming Cincinnati with Joe Burrow, knowing he's going to be the week 1 starter. How many reps do you want to give him? None at all. I think it'll be interesting to see how teams handle it, because it was funny how it just got so pigeonholed. You knew what everybody was going to do every week. It started to shift. Now we slash this thing in half. I don't think it's going back to 4. I think if this goes well and there's not some rash of horrific injuries week 1, which I don't assume would happen, but let's just say I think this one sticks. I really do.
And it should. And it is high time that they actually make a decent decision that isn't just bringing, they have the 4 or 5 games because it brings in revenue now.
Right.
And because that's the only reason that they have those type of preseason games. You ask any coach, do you want Devontae Adams risking the preseason or whoever? No, obviously they don't.
I think as the regular season expands, I think you see less likelihood of anybody playing in the preseason. So let's recap, Rick, here. We're out of time. So a whole lot of Bill Belichick, Cam Newton, and the Patriots. You're a serial killer who puts cheese on apple pie. Ghost stories.
Pumpkin stew.
the NFL preseason, and Leonardo da Vinci. That should about cover it, huh?
I tell you what, we have a wide range of subjects tonight, and it was well worth anyone listening time to hear all this direct.
So all I can say is you're welcome. So
Yeah.
we'll be back next week on 12 Ounce Sports at 12OZ Sports. I highlight the sports on Twitter, 12OunceSportsNetwork.com. And, of course, you can follow us at Asylum Football on Twitter. It's just sports, kinda, 123 at gmail.com and AsylumFantasySports.com. Until next time, if they'll have us back, we'll see you.
Take care.